So welcome back. In this presentation, we will be looking into two major aspects of any instinctive behavior, including the motivation, that is the fixed action pattern, and the science stimulus. Fixed action patterns, or FAP, is nothing but instinctive behavior or the innate behavior. So the behavioral patterns that are basically determined by genes, and obviously, since it is determined by genes, it is being transmitted from one generation to the other, and hence it is inborn or innate behavior, right? So these behavioral patterns, they are exhibited automatically by any animal without having seen or learned from the other members of the same species, or have learned from any performance of a behavior, even when the animal has been raised in isolation. So these behavioral patterns are what is referred as a fixed action patterns. To make it more clear, the fixed action patterns are those behavioral patterns which are innate in any animal. These kind of behaviors needn't be learned from any other members of the same species. It needn't be exhibited after watching some other members doing that particular behavior, or performing the particular behavior. Or we can see that these behavioral patterns are found in even those animals which are raised in isolation. These behavioral patterns are what is referred as fixed action patterns. Okay, so the fixed action patterns are nothing but the innate, instinctive, inborn, or inherent behavior. It is also referred as consummatory action. Okay, so when a wasp supplies its young with caterpillars, they are not guided by conspecifics, that is, the other members of the same species. You may have seen certain wasps, they carrying caterpillars, and usually the potter wasp, the wasp which creates like mud nests in the form of a pot on the walls and all. You may have seen it. What they do is they make a nest of mud in the form of pots, and they leave a small opening, and then they go for collecting caterpillars. Okay, usually you may have seen large caterpillars are collected. What they do is they inject certain chemicals that paralyzes these what you call caterpillars. Okay, they don't kill the caterpillar; they just keep paralyze it. Now, this caterpillars are collected, and then these caterpillars are then put inside the nest. Okay, and then these wasps, they lay their eggs on these caterpillars. Okay, and seal the what you call the nest, the mud nest. And once these eggs of the wasp hatch out, they do have the food ready made, isn't it, available in the nest itself, and they feed on that, and they grow, and then once they are ready to fly off, they open the what you call the door, of the nest, and they fly off. So here what happens is the nest building, the caterpillar hunting, uh, um, nothing is being taught to these wasps, isn't it? They have not seen any other members of the species building their nest. They haven't learned from any other members of the same species. So these kind of behavior pattern is what is referred as a fixed action pattern, and it is stereotypic in the sense they are found in all the individuals of the species. Okay, and it is almost similar. So we can see that these acts are what is referred as the fixed action patterns. And they are also known as consummatory action, innate behavior, instinctive behavior, um, inborn behavior, or inherent behavior. Okay, so uh, since it is derived from the genes, the behavior is referred as the inborn and innate. And since it is reaching a particular goal, it is referred as a consummatory action. Okay. Now, the elaborate courtship displays in most of the animals, then mating behavior, feeding pattern, nest building behavior, parental care, vocalization, the sound production, specific kind of sound production in birds and all, sounds of crickets, birds, whales, etc. Then you may have seen the insects and birds cleaning their wings. Okay, so all those behavior, wing cleaning behavior, then territoriality and aggression shown by birds and fishes and all. Then construction of web by spiders, Then you may have seen the weaver bird's nest pendulum like hanging down, isn't it? So the weaver, all these behavior pattern, it comes under fixed action patterns. Okay, and the most common example which we can see, it is a dancing peacock. The peacocks, they start dancing as they see the peahens during the breeding season. They do not learn dancing by watching other members, um, but they show the behavior during the breeding season. So that is kind of an innate behavior. Similarly, regarding the nest building of the weaver bird, then building of hive by the bees, honey bees, then tailor bird, which bring those two leaves together and literally stitch them with the help of long flexible grass. And all these are actually coming under the fixed action patterns. Okay, in human beings, if we see crawling, smiling, crying, they're not learned and they are instinctive. And these set of behaviors are what is referred as fixed action patterns. I hope it is clear. Okay. Now, as already said, the fixed action patterns are found to be the same in all the members of a particular species, and hence it is referred as stereotyped pattern or stereotypic behavior. And this particular behavior, this kind of behavior cannot be influenced in performance by any external stimuli. A classical example of fixed action pattern, it is provided in the study of egg rolling in grey-lag geese. Okay, here you can see a grey-lag goose, how they behave in the presence of an egg placed in front of them. So here what happens is these birds, they build shallow nests in the ground. They make small shallow nests in the ground, and then you can see over here this particular goose is actually incubating the eggs. It is sitting upon that, and then these goose, here you can see it uses a stereotype set of behavior to bring back the eggs that roll out of the nest. Okay, so here you can see there is a egg which had rolled out of the nest, and how it behaves. You can see this is the first set. Here you can see that goose is looking at the egg which has rolled out of its nest, and then the goose, it rises and tries to touch the egg with the bill tip, isn't it? And then you can see it places the underside of the beak on top of the egg, and then bend its neck and swings it laterally in a rhythmic movement to pull the egg back to the nest. So this sequence of behavior pattern, this is the same kind of behavior whenever such a kind of situation arises in any member of the particular species. Okay, that particular species. So the movements are typical of the species, no matter in which environment or in which kind of circumstances it lives in, and it need not watch conspecifics doing it, the other members of the species, and this action is performed automatically. So here you can see that sight of an egg outside the nest act as a stimulus, and that is what triggers the particular egg rolling behavior, and this stimulus is what is referred as a sign stimulus or key stimulus. That is a next content, that is a sign stimulus or the key stimulus. So for any fixed action pattern or any innate behavior to happen, there should be there is a need of sign stimulus for the release of the particular behavior, innate behavior. So we can say that sign stimulus, it is actually the characteristic feature of any instinctive behavior. Okay, this particular stimulus, it elicits the fixed action pattern. Okay, it is otherwise referred as a key stimulus. So innate complex behavior patterns can, like as a rule, show two components that are clearly distinguishable. Okay, one, we have already seen these two, but still with respect to the sign stimulus we are explaining, that is two distinguishable components of a behavior. That is, one is consummatory action and the other is appetite searching behavior. Consummatory action, um, we can see the stereotyped. That is what is actually stereotyped. That part is actually the stereotyped part of the whole behavior pattern, while the other is made up of a longer, more variable sequence of movements that lead to the consummatory action. So here you can see that the appetitive or searching behavior it is variable from one to the other member of the same species. And this variable, this includes a sequence of movements. So that particular behavior, it leads to the consummatory action, and the consummatory action is stereotyped. It is more or less same in all the members of a particular species. Okay. Now, most of the consummatory action or the instinctive behavior are initiated by searching or appetitive behavior. Instinct as such are invariant, that is, it is almost similar in all the members, while appetitive behavior, the searching behavior, is variable. That is, appetitive behavior is terminated by the appearance of food. For example, in the case of hunger drive, the appetitive or the searching behavior is terminated, or it ends up by the appearance of food. And then starts the stereotypic fixed action pattern, which we are referring as a consummatory action. Okay, so for example, a dog may spend hours in search of a mate during mating season, which shall cease after copulation. Here, the act of mating is an example of instinct, and searching for the goal is a appetitive behavior, and that is variable from one member to the other. It is variable, but final act of mating is actually instinctive behavior, or what is referred as a fixed action pattern. Okay, so this is regarding the fixed action pattern and the sign stimulus. Fine. Okay.